Hello, in this screencast we will be discussing the endomembrane system. The endomembrane system is the system of organelles that floats in the cytoplasm and are made of phospholipid bilayers. The system regulates proteins, performs metabolic functions in the cell, and transports things around the cell. A useful analogy is that if the cell is a town, the endomembrane system is like the factory that produces and transports goods around the town. In this screencast, we will be discussing the structure and specific functions of the endomembrane system. So what types of cells have an endomembrane system? Not all cells have an endomembrane system. Eukaryotes have an endomembrane system, but prokaryotes do not. Prokaryotes are much simpler and do not have any membrane-bound organelles. They also do not have a nucleus. The parts of the endomembrane system include the rough and smooth endoplasmic reticulum, vesicles, the Golgi apparatus, lysosomes, the nuclear envelope, and the plasma membrane. The mitochondria is not considered part of the endomembrane system, and neither are ribosomes.
What are the functions of the endomembrane system? There's the nuclear envelope, which is a double membrane of phospholipid bilayers that regulates passage to the nucleus for macromolecules like RNA and proteins, but let water and oxygen and other small molecules in without a problem. That gives way to the rough ER, or the rough endoplasmic reticulum, which is in charge of translating polypeptide chains into folded functional macromolecules, usually proteins. The rough ER has ribosomes embedded in its membrane walls to translate those polypeptide chains from the cytosol into the proteins. Then they make their way through the ER tube, also called the ER lumen, to the smooth ER. The smooth ER is in charge of the synthesis of lipids like oils, steroids, and new membrane phospholipids. It's also in charge of detoxifying drugs and poisons and storing calcium ions. Detoxifying usually means adding hydroxyl groups to drug molecules to make them easier to flush from the body by making them more soluble. The smooth ER also stores calcium ions in the ER lumen. For example, in muscle cells, calcium ions are released to trigger a muscle contraction. The Golgi apparatus works like a warehouse in receiving, modifying, and shipping goods. Vesicles come from the smooth ER and are absorbed by the Golgi, their cargo unloaded and processed in the Golgi, to be transported within or even outside of the cell. The Golgi receives vesicles on the cis side and ships off vesicles on the trans side, with processed macromolecules. The Golgi both processes macromolecules like proteins from the ER and makes its own macromolecules like polysaccharides. Lysosomes are found in animal cells, a membrane brown structure with low pH that contains hydrolytic enzymes that digest cargo from vesicles, where it turns it into its bare part to be used elsewhere in the cell. Vacuoles are large vesicles that store water and waste. In plant cells, they are in charge of the main repository of inorganic ions like potassium, and they are also structural and 80% of a cell's volume, so they can easily change the shape of the cell with minimal investment in new cytoplasm. In animal cells, they are not much bigger than a regular vesicle and have many different functions, including food vacuoles that fuse with lysosomes to be digested and other things. Plasma membrane is the boundary of the cell. It is a double membrane of phospholipid layers. It also has multiple proteins embedded in the walls that help regulate some of the things that go in or out of the cell.
The endomembrane system is connected by vesicles, small compartments with a membrane that can easily transport things like macromolecules from one part of the cell to another. Proteins can be transported by vesicles from one organelle to another, and then can be used either inside or outside of the cell. In summary, the endomembrane system is a system of organelles that focuses on synthesizing proteins and detoxifying poisons and other substances in our bodies. It is crucial to keep our bodies functioning every day, as it synthesizes almost all the enzymes that keep our bodies running. Our two questions are: how does the function of the endomembrane system contribute to the overall chemical reactions in the cell and the body? And how would intaking copious amounts of a poisonous substance affect the processes of the cell and its organelles?